And welcome, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Rickey Hampton with the big fella, Coach Paul Mokeski, former Milwaukee Bucks center, coming to you on a Monday evening. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Mo, Mo. Ah. Hey,
Yeah,
but you know what? Detroit, Michigan has been on fire the last 2 weeks, with the Lions winning two playoff games for the first time in 30 years. They won 2.5 games into the second half last night and ended a magical run, losing to San Francisco 34-31. Uh, so that was just heartbreaking around here. But people a lot of people like me obviously sad and disappointed, but it was so much fun to be a part of this because usually in Detroit we're talking about the draft this time of year, who our next player is going to be. Uh, so tough loss. Congratulations to the Lions, though. Uh, but the thing about this, Mo, man, it's hard to get to where they were last night.
yeah, it's gonna be hard to get back, right?
It's
That's the
hard.
that's the
Yeah.
problem. See, like that's why you can't can't take for granted where you're at, and you can't expect to be back the next year. It just doesn't work like that, and that's what's really tough is the way they lost, and their coach has done a great job. He's a hard nosed dude, and he's stubborn, and he goes on fourth down all the time. But you know what though? At some point, you need to reevaluate what you're doing and what situation you're in. And in the playoff game that's tight like that, you got to take the points when you get them. Now, if he makes that one fourth down, game might be over. But you bring in no points, and he stayed true to himself, what he's been all year. That's what got him there. So you appreciate that, but I'm telling you, I felt bad. I was sitting here watching with my stomach just going, "Oh man,"
So
because
you can imagine how we were in Detroit.
it's the
You,
way
you
they.
well, you know firsthand how passionate the fans are here, having played here.
Well, it's the way they lost, right? I mean, having control of that game and going into halftime really positive, and I don't know what happened. I don't know
Well,
if
here,
the
here,
well, I don't know. I'm talking about psychologically. I don't know if
here's
the
what
Lions.
happened. Can't San Francisco gets a lucky break.
Well,
The guy has an interception. He bobbles it. The other guy catches it.
yeah, that was only one play though.
That's one play.
I mean that's a big play, but
Then you fumble. I'm gonna give it to you in 4 plays. One play puts them at the 2 yard line, touchdown. Jameer Gibbs fumbles at the 20 yard line. They score. Uh, People. Here's my thing on the fourth down. Yeah, he could kick it, but whatever the play is called, the players need to execute that play. Josh Reynolds is wide open. The ball hits him in the hands. He
yeah,
drops it.
he dropped it. Yeah,
Whatever the play is, execute it. The kicker, if he tells you to kick it, make the kick. If they throw it to you on fourth down, catch the
yeah.
damn ball.
Here's the
And then
problem.
the 49ers got momentum. And
It doesn't work that way. And then
yeah, clearly it don't work
when
that
you
way.
don't get points, just think if they would have kicked those two field goals, that last drive would have been to win the game. That's what the
Yeah,
last drive would have been.
I get that, Mo, but do you know who the Lions field goal kicker is?
Yeah, one was a chip shot. I could have made it.
Do,
You
do,
know?
do you know who the Lions field goal kicker is? Do you know his name?
No.
Michael Badgley. You know how many field goals he attempted this year? 12. There's a reason he attempted
How many did he make?
maybe
You
9
don't,
or
you don't
something.
even know. So
Yeah, because
even if he made 9, that's 80%.
but Mo, if they throw it to you and you make the catch as a professional receiver, I mean, we could question the bottom line. It didn't work.
Here's what happens. Like, and I talk about when I rewind. Let's go to halftime. Halftime. I don't know if the Lions take a deep breath. And I've told you this before. In the 49ers locker room at halftime, if I'm the coach, I'm going, listen, we played like crap. We can't play any worse. And we're going to get better and things will change. And we've talked about this too before. Momentum means everything. All of a sudden, guys can't catch the easy catch because they say, shit, if I miss this, then it's going to keep multiplying. And we had a fumble and we had this and now all that, and it just keeps multiplying. I mean, you see that in basketball games all the time. I mean, one guy gets hot and all of a sudden, you can't make a shot. I mean, but the way they lost is just hard. Those things don't go away. I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you 3 games right now in my career that are still there. One as a player in Milwaukee, we had the Boston Celtics down in the Garden in Game 7 by 7 points with about 3 minutes left. And then Larry Bird hit a couple threes and things snowballed and we couldn't make a shot and we lost the game and I don't have a chance at a championship ring. So now fast forward that to the Dallas Mavericks in the finals against Miami Heat. We kill them 10 points and 12 points at home. We go to Miami to play 3 games because it was stupid 2-3-2. And in game 3, we have Miami down by 9 points with 1:30 left. And then Posey hits a corner 3, Wade gets an N1, and now we lose that game. And it snowballs. We get blown out of game 4. We lose game 5 in a tough one, and there goes my chance at a ring.
Yeah.
In the 2012 Olympics in London with the Great Britain national team, we beat China, we lost to Spain, we had to beat Australia to go to the medal rounds. Unheard of. The most underrated team ever to be able to go to the medal rounds in the Olympics in basketball. And we were up by 24 against Australia at halftime. And we were rolling, and they were struggling. And then the third quarter, these are 10-minute quarters. In 20 minutes, there was a 50-point turnaround in 20 minutes. No shot we took could go in. We fumbled the ball out of bounds. Every shot they make it goes in. They get every call. They make all their free throws. We can't make a free throw, and we don't go to the medal rounds. So it's the way it happens that sticks with you forever. And I don't care. The Lions had a great year. That's great, and they did really good. That's great. But I'm telling you, those coaches and those players will never, ever forget that game because they were this close to going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And you can go 2 ways with that. And Campbell, that I know what's going to do for him. It's going to just fuel him. And the thing about the NFL today, also, that'll be they'll have 30% turnover next year because of salary caps. It's not like you keep teams together back in the NBA days and all of that.
And even if you do, even if you do, it doesn't. You got to have luck, talent. The ball drops your way, all that every game. So I remember when we went to those. A couple years before when Don Nelson was coaching, we were going to the West Coast finals, and we had a shoot around, and he said, "Hey, let's take advantage of this, play hard, do our best, because we never know how many people in this locker room right now will be here next year. We just don't know."
Yeah, it's hard, and that's what I talk. It is hard to win a game in organized, especially at big time sport. The Pistons lost 28 straight games a month ago, and they went out and kicked the Thunder's butt last night.
That was a road trip game, by the way. Just so you know.
And if Thunder comes in and just, okay, we got the Pistons, and you could tell that's what they were doing. They just,
Well, they were also on a back-to-back on
yeah,
a 7-day road trip. So yeah, that happens.
yeah.
Yeah. So but
The opportunity is, but Mo, what I'm saying is, even with that, that wasn't the first team the Pistons played who would come in there. I mean, you still got to go out there and play, or even the Pistons will beat you.
yeah,
They,
absolutely.
that's how bad it can get. So but again, here, I totally get what you're saying, and we'll see, we'll see. I was hoping they could get in the playoffs. They did that, and I think it was a great first step for them. But when you get those opportunities, man, you gotta
I
grab.
mean, my Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. They're coming here to Las Vegas, but it took a player on the Ravens reaching out for a touchdown and getting
Yeah,
knocked out for a fumble for a
yeah,
touchback.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there's a play right there. I mean,
yeah,
and I'm telling you, the face mask play, where it gets off the guy's face mask and the guy
yeah,
catches it, that's almost like the immaculate reception. It's crazy.
yeah. And think about it, the Chiefs. They struggled throughout for the Chiefs. They struggled throughout the regular season. But hey, when it came money time, they've been money. I mean, they went in there and dominated Baltimore. And what surprised me about Baltimore, Mo, was how undisciplined they were in that game yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, they're getting stupid penalties and doing stupid stuff. And you know what though? A lot has to be with the Chiefs have been there before.
Yeah.
The Ravens,
Yeah.
like here's a stat that really stuck out to me before the Lions game, right? The Lions on their roster have like 11 players that have been to the Super Bowl. The 49ers have 73.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
73 players have been to the Super Bowl.
You think
That's
that don't make a difference, man? That makes a difference.
absolutely. You've been there. You've been in situations. You know not to give up at halftime. You
Yeah.
know crazy stuff happens.
Chiefs lost their defensive line specialist for the Super Bowl. I don't know who that would be, Steve, as long as they ain't lose Chris Jones. Because Chris Jones is a game record.
As long as they got Mahomes and Kelsey, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Shoot.
Yeah, I mean, you think were they not money yesterday? They were absolutely money. I don't know if they finished the game. I know at one point they were 11 of 11 to each other.
That's what they ended up 11 of 11.
I'm like, that's like Stockton and Malone, man.
Yeah, that one catch, the first catch in the end zone, that's thrown at his knee when he turned around right in the corner of the end zone. I mean,
Oh my God.
that's
And that was
amazing.
good D. That was good D on that play.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I think the Chiefs' excellence frustrated Baltimore because they just couldn't deal with it. They couldn't deal. Yeah, I'm playing great deal on this guy, and he makes his touchdown catch.
Yeah, but you can't. I mean, that
I know
happens
you
all
can't.
the
That's
time.
no excuse
That happens all the
whatsoever.
time. I mean, if you're guarding Steph Curry, how many tough shots is he gonna make in your face? A lot. You just got to go down and do the best you can next time.
I, and we're gonna get to some. Of course, we're gonna get to some NBA, and I want to talk about Steph Curry. And I watched that game the other night. Steph Curry and the Warriors played LeBron and the Lakers double overtime. These two old war horses were going at each other. But we'll get to that, Mo. Let's finish up on the NFL because sometimes these NBA games look like All-Star games now. The way guys are just running up and down the court scoring. But we got a great matchup. I think these are the two best teams uh, in the league.
I think the Ravens were supposed to be the best team, right?
It's supposed to be.
I mean, and here's what the Chiefs did. They beat besides their quarterback, they beat two teams that had the next best quarterbacks in Buffalo and the Ravens. They're the best quarterbacks, and that's I don't know what's going to happen in the Super Bowl. But I'm telling you, like someone that we were watching the game with pointed out, so push comes to shove, who do you want? You want Mahomes or you want Purdy? There's no
I,
contest. I mean,
I'm on
Purdy.
home.
Yeah, absolutely, no
I don't
question.
care what I don't care what NFL team you tell me.
Yeah,
I want Mahomes.
yeah. The advantage I think the Niners have is McCaffrey. I mean, he's just a beast. I mean, running, catching, tough as nails. I mean, he's going to be a handful. I think.
But the Chiefs
For the Chiefs.
defense, this is the best Chiefs defense I've seen during the Mahomes era.
I mean, if you can contain Lamar Jackson, right? Contain. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
you talk about contain. He was 20 for 37, 272 yards, and then he rushed for another 54. And that's being contained because he's capable of, throwing for 350 and running for 100. So, you got their defensive backs and safeties have done a spectacular job in containing those guys. So it's special.
Yeah, absolutely. So that should be a really good game out in Vegas.
It's
And
going to be all red here.
Big Mo will be on the scene. I've canceled all my flights to Vegas for the Super Bowl.
Do you know how much a ticket is?
What?
$6,000 for the upper bowl. I have friends that were. He's connected with one of the casinos, and they have a box in Allegiant, and they just sold it for $2 million for
You're
one day.
kidding me.
One day, $2 million.
You are kidding me.
Nope. And it's just nice and everything. I know there's these boxes in the end zones, and you can get a table at one of those boxes that has like 6 seats for it for like $500,000. That's crazy.
You are kidding me.
Nope. Crazy. It's where the money is, baby. Vegas,
Wow.
and
Vegas is just Vegas is Vegas is a great town. I mean, it really is.
It's done everything. It's done everything, right?
Yeah.
It's had the Stanley Cup Finals. It had the WNBA Finals. It had Formula One racing. It's now the Super Bowl. It'll have the Final Four here probably within 5 years. I bet they'll play it at Allegiant probably. So it's crazy.
Yeah. I can see Major League Baseball going there one day.
Well, they're already they're shutting down the Tropicana. That's where they're going to tear that down on the strip and build the stadium there. They're shutting that down in a month. All reservations are being no more reservations are being taken.
Wow.
So they're starting to tear that down.
And the Tropicana is one of the legendary places there from back in the day with Sammy Davis and.
Oh shoot! I used to go there and stay at the Tropicana in the '80s. Yeah, I mean it's been there forever.
Wow.
Most of those Flamingos gone. Most of those Caesars are still here, but most of them are gone now.
Wow. Yeah. So we got so that's where we are in the NFL.
Well, I was gonna. Yeah. The good thing is, if the Lions came, I'd have to buy you a $6,000 ticket, so that was gonna be tough.
But you know what, Mo? After all these days, you're probably like me too. You've been to so many games, and it's just good to sit home and watch it, man. And I have to deal with the crowd.
First of all, I'm not going to any game that I have to pay for. And then, even if I don't have to pay for it, if it's not a good seat, I'm not going either.
Yeah.
I mean,
you spoiled, man. I mean, hey.
I think I'm watching. A friend of mine has a suite at one of the casinos. I think I'll watch it there.
But you've earned that right to be a little spoiled and a little picky about your.
That's right.
About your seat, man. You paid your dues. hey, but Mo, one of the things I wanted to get into. I think in the last few days, Joel Embiid had a 7-point night. Coffee Towns had 62 one night. We're just seeing some scores, uh, 150 something, 130. I mean, those used to be all-star game score. Now, people have always said they don't play defense in the NBA, and that was total BS. But I'm wondering now, do they still play defense in the NBA?
Well, I don't even know if you're allowed to play defense anymore. I mean, you know, with all the rules that have come up over the last 40 years, you're looking at like the major rules that have come up, like no hand checking. You know, before I got in the league, you could hand check. Even in the first few years in the league, you could hand check someone to really hold them down. Then the defensive 3-second rule, you have to actively guard somebody. You have to be arm length. Then they put in the 3-point line. So everything that's changed has changed for the better of the offense. You know, so you can't. I mean, I talked to someone. Coaches now don't even know how to teach defense because they don't know what you can and can't do. I mean, you do some stuff, and now they're calling fouls out in games, and teams are shooting free throws, and that's we talk about this a lot, and I've talked to people, ex players and my generation, everything. Everybody thinks, we'd be upset over the money they're making, but we're not. I mean, they're making what they make. That's great. We're more upset of the style of the game and how ridiculous it is now. You can't touch anybody. I mean, could you imagine Michael Jordan playing if you couldn't touch him?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Could you see LeBron playing against the bad boy Pistons when they're allowed to? Every time he goes to the basket, they're going to pound him. He's going to hit the floor. I mean, but at the same time, Ricky. So it's kind of come in bunches, right? So, Luka had 73, Embiid had 70, Karl Towns had 62, and Booker had 62, and both he and Lillard have 70. But I mean, shoot, like people think that scoring's out of hand right now. Do you know in the top 20 average points per game over the last 50 years or whatever it is, only 3 are in the 2000s.
Wait a minute. Okay, explain that again.
So the highest scoring team ever for a season is Philadelphia in 82. They averaged 126 points a game. The second best was Philly again in 62. Then India in 2024, this year they're averaging 124.8 points a game. Boston in 1960 averaged 124.8 points a game. In 1960. The Bucks in 2024 this year are averaging 124. Denver in 84 and 83 averaged 123.7. In the 80s, right? 68 Philly averaged 122. OKC is averaging 121 this year. They're one of the highest scoring teams, right?
Yeah, Indy's averaging 120, essentially 125. They're the highest scoring team in the league.
Yeah, that must have been adjusted because they were at 121. But they were scoring 126 in 1982.
And wasn't shooting threes.
No, there were no threes. They were scoring 125 in 1962 with no threes.
No threes.
I mean, just think. So Indy's, what are they averaging? 125.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I bet they make probably at least 10 threes a game. So subtract 10 points off of that, right?
Yeah. Hey, I got to go back to throw this in. I didn't see this from earlier. We were talking about the NFL. That is a great point, Steve. Al Davis is rolling over his grave with the Chiefs playing the Super Bowl in his stadium.
Guess where the Chiefs are practicing?
No,
in the Raiders practice facility.
no,
Yeah,
no,
the
no.
49ers are practicing at UNLV, and the Raiders are practicing the Chiefs are practicing in the Raiders practice facility.
Oh my gosh.
With probably Al Davis's statue up there.
Hey,
but
but
that,
Mo, but
but back to
tell me this. Tell
basketball.
me this. No, go
Scoring's
ahead.
not
Go ahead.
scoring's not new. Scoring's not new. They're not people. There's no team averaging 130 points, right?
No.
So it just seems it's easier to score now with the rules on the three-point line. That doesn't mean the teams are more offensive. They're better offensively. It's not. It's actually the opposite. You know.
Yeah. Hey, Paul. Does the fact that LeBron is playing in this era, I mean, he's already number one. He's closing in on 40,000 points. Because he's playing now, does that taint his mark at all? Or you just play when you happen to play?
You got to play when you have to play. You play against who you have to play.
Yeah.
So, and that's why people that take away from Wilt Chamberlain, the numbers he put up, they're wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he supposed to do?
Yeah.
That's play against who he plays against. But, the thing that, would be different is like, LeBron is phenomenal doing crazy stuff and putting up crazy numbers. I think he's still averaging 120. I mean, not 120. He's still averaging like 25 a game and 11
Yeah.
rebounds. I mean, just ridiculous. But too, you've been there, Ricky. Just think LeBron comes into play the Detroit Pistons in the 80s and flops on the ground and he'd be laughed off the court.
Yeah.
Those guys, Mahorn, they'd be
Yeah.
laughing at him
He'd be
like,
carried off the court probably.
yeah, get up, man. Stop flopping.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean,
But you can't punish him because he did not play an 8.
No. I mean, you know, physically, but let's face it. In the 80s, there were no personal trainers. There were no dietitians. There were no flying on private jets. There was none of that either. But you can't hold against him, because he's going to use what he can use, and he's using it to the best of his ability. But, as far as the defense in the league, two things. The rules restrict you from being able to be physical and play defense. You can't even touch people. And also, players don't have pride. Open shots, open layups like a layup line. That would never happen when I played. Someone drives to the basket, you can at least try to contest the shot. Look at some of the shots that even LeBron and Steph Curry. Steph Curry, what did he have, 40 something that game the other night? He shot a three. There was no one 10 feet from him.
Yeah.
I mean, how could that happen? So, it's a combination of the rules and a combination of players don't want to play defense anymore. Maybe part of it is they get punished for it. But, I mean, put a hand up. How about we put a hand up and contest a shot? I mean, that's what's seeing all these open layups and no one's even trying to block shots. And now you watch college games, it's the same thing. In a college game, if you drive past somebody, you get into the paint, there's nobody even there. It's like a layup line. It's crazy.
Mo, why do you think this was kind of legislated into the game? I covered that Pistons team that won the 2004 title, and I think they went like 5 games where teams didn't even get to 70 points or 80 points. And they were buried with Chauncey and Rashid and Ben Moss and all those guys. I thought it was great basketball. You have a final score of 92 to 83 or whatever.
Fans today don't want that. That's what happened. What happened was when teams like that team started winning championships with that low score, and you look around and what were the excitement when people fly through the air and dunk it and shoot lights out The lane is open, and that's what happened. And it started happening in the '80s because with Michael Jordan, and he was taking abuse and getting to the paint, and Dominique Wilkins and guys like that. They wanted to open up the floor. Well, how do you open up the floor? Well, you can't play zone, and now you have a 2.9 second rule in the paint unless you're guarding somebody. And now you don't let people touch people, and then you put in, or you use the 3-point line more, and then there you go. But the people in the NBA 2K, and he's on fire,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
kids are
yeah,
playing that, right? And
yeah.
kids in those games are scoring 80, and they get to fly through the air and dunk it, and they get to do all that stuff, so they want to see it on the floor. And that's what happened. The whole mentality of the NBA changed more for the fans. Before, it was for the teams winning, winning. Now the NBA is entertainment. It's entertainment. It's in the entertainment business. It's a multi-billion-dollar entertainment business. So you have to be concerned with how do you entertain your fans, and that's through shooting threes and dunking it. So you put in rules to help those things.
But Mo, I mean, it's on. Well, I hear you. I totally agree with you. But it's only so many ways you can dunk a ball, man. But Paul, the 2004 Pistons held opponents under 70 11 times. They led the league in defense. They gave up 84 points a game, and they only gave up 80 points again during the playoffs. And the NBA said, "Oh, the hell with this."
They could do that now.
Yeah,
I mean, I bet teams shot probably 15, 18 free throws against them back then. They'd shoot 40 now in today's game.
yeah,
If they played the same team, they'd shoot 40 free throws. I mean, you see 40 free throws taken in NBA games. So, yeah, and that was on purpose, Ricky. They did that on purpose. The
yeah.
3-point line's not an accident. The illegal defense is not an accident. The verticality rule is not an accident. I mean, that's why I said in the G League a lot. If you fall, you get a call. Go to the basket, run into somebody, fall down, and you shoot free throws.
Mo, if you could put one thing into the league that you think would improve the quality, because I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a great. I love the NBA. I always loved it, no matter what the era. But if you could improve the quality of today's game in terms of overall uh, uh, how it's played, what would you do?
Put defense. Well, one thing that you put defense back in the scenario, right? Right now, that I mean, there's no, one of the things I don't understand why the NBA is the only league in the world. It's the best league in the world, basketball. It's the only league in the world, basketball, that you can't play zone.
Mm.
Olympics, World Games, FIBA, college, high school, you can play zone. Why can't you play it in the NBA?
Yeah, why is that?
Because they don't want the lane clogged up so you can't fly through the air and dunk. That's why. But that's why. But it's silly because, I mean, quite frankly, I could draw up a zone offense that is pretty much unstoppable, and you get dunks on that too. But they're lazy about it. They want, you have Wembyama in the paint, guarding the paint. Yeah, but then you'd have Embiid and the Joker and whoever else shooting threes on his face. So how long are you going to let him stay in the paint? You got to go out and get him. But that's one of the things. But also and I think this might change next year, Ricky. I think they might. They're not going to allow hand checking. They're not going to put that back in. But they're going to let maybe they can let people, because now there's a rule in the NBA that you cannot impede, the defense cannot impede the offense. So if you're cutting to the basket, I can't bump you.
Yeah,
We used to do that.
never
Was a
anybody
drill we
caught
did.
your face.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you came through the lane, I bumped you, and then
yeah.
you had to veer out, and then I got back to my guy. You can't do that anymore. You have to get out of the way. So I think they might let some of that stuff back in the game. I don't know, but you gotta. you got to get some defense involved somehow. I mean,
But Mo, even with that, I mean, it's an art going to when a guy crosses your face where you're not tackling him.
no,
You just want to just kind of knock him off his stride a little bit.
you guide him. That's where the impeding comes. You can't knock anybody off their stride anymore. That's a no-no. You can't do that. You have to let them do what they want to do. That's why, and I don't even think if like when I was guarding like Kareem or Moses or anyone like that, McHale, Parrish, you can go down the list. We called it doing your work early. So when they came across half court, you met them at the top of the key and started, because if you let them go by you and get on the block and post up, it's over. So you met them and you didn't hit them. You just kind of guided them to try and get them a foot or so off their spot. And then I did my job. You can't do that anymore. That's
Yeah.
impeding the offense. You can't do
Yeah.
that.
Well, you remember we were talking about Mike Brown the other day, and he said he didn't know what the defensive rule was about the some kind of verticality in the arm.
Yeah, yeah,
You
but
said he knew it. He knew it.
yeah, I looked up the video. It's there. It was sent to every NBA team, right? You're allowed to have one arm here and one arm up, verticality. You're just not allowed to go extend that arm. You're allowed to do this, and he's saying you can't. Maybe, but if some referee was calling that in the game, which happens, and you can bring out the rule book, then you'll get teed up and thrown out of the game. But but you would say, hey, we saw in training camp, we had it explained and demonstrated that this is okay, and now you're calling it a foul, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. But what they'll say is, yeah, he was like that, but then he extended his arm. That's foul. So there's no win in that argument. But he knew the rule.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, we got the trade deadline coming up. There are definitely going to be some moves. We got about 10 days, and let's start in Milwaukee.
Well, first, let's talk about the trades that were made.
Okay.
Right? So in November was the big trade, right? The Clippers got Harden and PJ Tucker and another player, and then Philly got Marcus Morris, KJ Martin, Nicholas Bantam, whatever. But then they got first rounder in 24, 2 seconds, another first in 26. So they got a lot of draft picks. They gave up Harden for a lot of draft picks. But you look at how, and I'm not a Harden fan, but you look how the Clippers are playing now, and Harden is playing now. I saw on ESPN today how good the Clippers defense is. I just watched Harden actually play some defense.
Whoa.
He actually moved his feet. He looked like he was interested. So that was the first kind of, that was early on when Harden was forcing his deal. But now trades are happening. Like on January 14th, Pistons got Danilo Gallinari and Mike Muscala. Gallinari's older. I don't know. Muscala, he can play. But they gave away Bagley the third, Isaiah Livers, and a couple second rounds. So that
And
was kind of,
Bagley's averaging 18 and 10 in Washington.
yeah. So they made that trade, but then on the 30th of December, the Knicks made a big trade and they got OG Anunoby, who's a really nice wing player. He's known for his defense, but he's scoring like 20 points a game for the Knicks, right? And shored up their defense. And Precious
Sure.
yeah, he's a good young player that's going to get some playing. And they gave up to Toronto PJ Barrett and a couple draft picks. So
and quickly,
yeah,
and Emmanuel quickly.
But the Knicks made that move because the Knicks are sitting in like a fifth spot. So you can't just stay pat. I mean, they got a good thing going. Randall hurt his shoulder, I guess. It popped out the other night, but they were rolling and they got a good team, but they still knew that Anuabi. I love the way he plays defense, knocks down. He is one of the top percentage 3-point shooters from the corner in the league. That means a lot to open up the floor for Brunson and Randall, right? So that was a good trade. Then Miami got Terry Rozier, who's averaging like 20, I think, something like that.
23. Right? He averaged 23 for Charlotte.
Yeah, and they gave up Kyle Lowry and then a protected first-round pick. So they upgraded. However, I don't think they addressed their size. They still have a size problem with Bam playing the center. I think they missed out on that. Indiana, that same day, really got better. They got Pascal Siakam, who I think he's a 20-7 guy. And that's who I think the Bucks should have got. And all they had to give away, they gave away Bruce Brown, a couple seconds, a conditional first, and Jordan Nwora, who's a good player. But Pascal Siakam was a big target for a lot of teams.
Yeah, he's a former All-Star.
What's that?
He's a former All-Star.
Yeah, he's active, athletic. I mean, that upgrades Indiana big time, and really that helps them. And I think Indiana, they're in like the 6th or 7th spot right now. So they've kind of taken a fall, and that should help them out, right? So these teams are making moves. You look at the teams that are going to make moves are the Knicks, the Pacers. Got teams like are in 4, 5, 6, 7 spot, 8 spot. They're going to make those moves to try and get up to increase their playoff percentage. Hopefully, get a home series, at the 4th spot. And the target teams, you look at them, right? Toronto, Charlotte. Those are the teams that are giving up assets right now because their season's pretty much over. So they're looking for the future. So they're taking in draft picks and younger players, while some teams are trying to get better.
Hey, Paul, if you were the Warriors, would you? I mean, that's an older team. They're core guys anyway. You're not going to trade Steph. But is anybody else untouchable on that team?
Draymond.
And does anybody else have trade value?
Wiggins probably not. Clay has trade value to a team that's looking for a knockdown shooter that can make shots. I mean, so he has trade value. Some of their younger players, Kuminga, everyone really wants Kuminga, but I think they're holding on to him because he's scoring over the last week or so. He's averaging about 20 points a game now. He's coming into his own. But I think they have some draft picks, but I mean, let's face it, they're in like the 12th spot. I mean, hell, I mean, they're 10, 11 games out of the top spot, but they're 4 or 5 games out of the playoffs, right? Out of play-in. So I mean, how long are you going to hold on to? I mean, obviously Curry, you're not going to do, but how about anybody else? Anybody else? There might be you look at Looney, right, who's an undersized big, but it's got 20 rebounds in a playoff game. I mean, and he's not playing much. He didn't play much in that Laker game. I don't know if he was hurt, but he might be of trade value. But at some point, do you try to get something for Draymond? Do you try to get something for Clay and make a run at this? Or, you just hold on to their expiring contracts and wait for the future. But they're in a tough spot, a really tough spot.
Yeah. How about my man in Chicago? Gosh, he's just a hard-nosed player.
Caruso.
Does he help? He would be a certain fit, I guess.
No, but he would help good team. He would help the Bucks, right? He would help the Bucks. He would help Philly. Boston's loaded. He would. I saw a little sentimental thing. He would help the Lakers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he would help, but he signed a nice deal of 20 million or 15 million or whatever. So but he would help. Um, a good team because he plays defense. He's hard nosed. He can make threes. He gets to the basket. So he's someone that one of the better teams would be looking at. Obviously because the Bulls are in ninth spot right now, but they're kind of a
Yeah.
field day right here. So you know,
And they keep talking about moving Levine off that roster too.
yeah, but Levine is owed like $90 million over the next 3 years. So he's a harder contract. I mean, and you guess when you trade someone, you have to get back almost equal value financially. So you got to find enough people on your roster that make up 30 million a year. So
Yeah.
if it's not one of your big pieces, well, I'm playing, putting in, Milwaukee's not really happy with what they're doing now. Whatever, they got to find out where they are with their feet wet with Doc Rivers. But if I'm Milwaukee, I'm looking at getting rid of Middleton. I mean, Middleton did a great job a couple years ago in the playoffs, really held the team together. But now, after his knee injury and his hamstring, I think he's never been the same. He can still play now, but
He does not move well though. No.
what about Levine for Middleton? Something like
Yeah.
that, you know?
I watched him a couple of days. He's not moving well on the
No.
court. I watched him when they were here twice.
So
Hey,
so if I want to dump Levine, $40 million contract, and I can dump him. I can get him to Milwaukee, who really would want him and really help that team, and I would get Middleton in return, but he would only be on my books for a couple more years. He can play a couple more years, be a piece, and now that 40 million is gonna come off my books in the relative near future. That's value to if Chicago's building a new team, they're not going to be viable for 3 or 4 years. And at that point, he'll come off the books, and I can go get some free agent that's really big time.
Mo, two things. Do you like the fact that teams have to negotiate their rosters because of the salary cap? And two, to Steve's question, did you ever reject Jabbar Skyhook?
No, but only a couple players did block his sky. One was Wilt Chamberlain, and one was shoot,
Artists? Could you think
Artist. I think might have got it, and man, he played for the Pistons for a while. He's like 6'8". They called him Dracula, I think, or Blackula. He was a big time jumper. Edgar something. Anyway, I think he blocked it, but no, I never came close, nor did I try, Steve.
push him out, man. Just push him
Yeah,
out.
push him out, make him turn over his right shoulder, shoot a lefty hook, and hope for the best.
Yeah. But what about my next question was about how the salary cap sometimes it prevents teams from doing deals. Does it make it even for everybody?
Yeah, I think they put that in, and it works because they put that in so you can't dump your star players for salary reasons. So I can't sign Rickey, to 30 million a year for the next 4 years, and then trade him somewhere else for a handful of draft picks and Joe Schmo. So they don't want that happening. So you got to think when you sign a long-term contract to somebody, you're going to have to get value for value, financially when you trade it. The salary cap comes into play. But the other thing that's happened is there's been more movement by star players over the last 5 to 10 years than ever before because free agency is more open. So, once your contract's open, you're freer to leave now. And there's only a handful, if that, of no trade contracts. They're hardly done anymore. When back in the day, no trade contract you could get if you really fought for it. So that player movement, free agency is there, but trade wise, you got to get something for something. You can't, trade trade your set of golf clubs for this Coke bottle. You can't do that. So I think they stopped that. The problem is it's getting mixed up because now players take it upon themselves to demand trades. So that throws a wrench in the whole system. It was built so if you sign a long-term contract, you're committed unless they move you. Now, you know, Harden or Kyrie or just whoever, I'm not playing. Trade me. And the contracts are big enough, the money's big enough where I can sit out for 3, 4 Ben Simmons 6 months if I want, because I already have 200 million in the bank. So what? You know, back then when I played, you know, if you made like halfway through when those guys, you know, let's just put $1 million out for like Magic or Bird or whatever. So you're gonna make $1 million, and then if you don't show up, they're gonna deduct 300 grand
from there. Yeah,
that's 30% of your contract. You know, you won't do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Hey, Mo, they've lost a couple, but before that, the Suns were rolling pretty good. Booker had been hot. Did they? Can they make some noise in this Western Conference? They're they are currently 26-20, 7-3 in the last 10. You know, they got Kevin Durant, that's a great player, and Booker's playing well. I think Grayson got hurt tonight.
Uh, they've been hurt. They've been battling. They have a lineup that can do damage. They're in the fifth spot right now, I think. No, they're in the sixth spot. Six behind Sacramento, um, but they're only, you know, 4 games out of the fourth spot. That's when you're looking at like Phoenix, Sacramento. Um, you know, they want to get up into the third spot, you know, so they can get a home game for 1 game, and you know, so that's what they're looking to do. But for some reason, well, I think it's injuries. Phoenix has not really performed, you know, because they haven't had their whole team
Yeah,
together. You
yeah.
know, so
Bill was
really you
missed
can't
a
really
ton of
dictate.
games.
You can't tell how good they can be till they are together. You know, now what's happening is the Clippers are moving up. The Clippers, in my opinion, could be the best team in the West
Yeah,
because you know they're only 1 game out of first. Minnesota, OKC, good teams, but the Clippers are when they're healthy, they're the real deal. I
yeah.
mean, with Kawhi in that group, you know they're 30-14 now, moving up, and I predict that if fall goes according, they're going to be in the first spot for the playoffs because you know they're healthy now. I always told you, like over the last couple of years, when you look at rosters by names and talent, they had one of the best rosters, but they
Yeah.
just last year they were hurt, but they weren't just performing either. Now they're clicking, and they're going to be a handful. You know, I still like Denver, but Denver is not very deep. You know, it's still the wild, wild west. You have the Lakers, Dallas, Phoenix, Sac, Denver, Minnesota, OKC, but the cream of the crop in the West now is the Clippers, I think.
And you know what's happening over there? Something you suggested uh, that should happen when Westbrook was in LA. Bring him off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And he's played well for them, Mo, when he's come in.
Yeah, because you know if you bring him off the bench and sit Harden or someone like that, then Westbrook gets his shots, and now he's running the show for a different group of guys, and he's playing probably against the sub on the other team, which makes it even easier for him. As long as you can accept your role like that, you know, and they are playing Westbrook and Harden together some, but mostly off the bench when they rest Harden.
What's Coach Mo rules? It's not know your role, accept your role, right?
Everybody knows their role. No one, most people don't want to accept their role. and, I, and, I, and I told you the "World Be Free" quote, right? When I was in Cleveland, when
No.
when the coach had us in training camp, we're in a meeting. He was talking about the roles of everybody, and "World Be Free" raised his hand and said, "Coach, about these roles, I only know a few roles. I know payroll. I know cinnamon roll."
You're kidding me, Mo.
And I know payroll.
World be free. And you're right, Mo. I'm looking at their roster now. They have George, Harden, Leonard. Terrence Mann, just Mason Plumlee, Norman Powell, Daniel Thies, PJ Tucker. They got Zubac, Westbrook.
So let's time out. Like, so when you think like Zubac is a legitimate 7-foot center
Right,
that can guard a Joker, and Daniel Theus, he played for Germany and won the gold medal in the World Cup. 6'9", played for the Celtics. He's a legitimate big.
right. And you can run Plumlee out there for 10 or 15 minutes if you
Yeah,
need to.
absolutely. Yeah, they got us. They have a well-rounded, talented roster for sure.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. And we'll see really after, I think the trade deadline is the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
On the 9th, we will really be able to tell who's going to be able to do what, won't we?
Like, yeah, like I would say, like back up, like people that are looking probably to do something. Milwaukee, maybe. Uh, Cleveland, Philly, maybe to get a spot. Minnesota, maybe an athletic wing. Sacramento, they need a big so it can help Sabonis. Phoenix, probably maybe a Dallas, they need a big. Lakers, they need a spot, and Golden State. And then you look at the targets. So you look at like Detroit, Washington, Charlotte, Toronto, New Jersey, Houston, Portland, Memphis are kind of the targets, that you would be looking at, that you might be able to find one of those players that can help you out. Like you look at like Portland, who's whatever they're doing. Malcolm Brogdon, 6'4", averaging 15 points, shooting 41% from the three. He can help a really good playoff
Yeah.
team. Jeremy Grant, 6'7", averaging 21. But if, they paid him a lot of money about 2 years ago. Are they ready to give up on him? You look at Houston Rockets. Victor Oladipo is 31. He's averaging 11. He's been there before. Reggie Bullock Jr. Remember, he was a good player a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. Memphis has your guy, who I like a lot, Luke Kennard, right?
Luke can shoot that thing, man.
Yeah, and he's 6'5", some with a good team. He shoot 43% from the three. You don't
Yeah.
think he could help Philly or Milwaukee or the Lakers or, one of those teams? Washington, there's a guard. Remember Larry Shamet, who was playing for Phoenix?
Yeah.
He's probably available. And then I don't know. This is a big move, and I don't know if you want to put up with him. He's a head case, but he's a good player. Kyle Kuzma,
I
who's
think with yeah.
he's 6'9", averaging 22, 6 and 4, but he's kind of been a head case. But he could shift a division, right? And Charlotte they just traded for Kyle Lowry, but I don't think they'll keep him. They're talking
Yeah.
about paying him out, but as a free agent, he's a serviceable backup guard that one of these teams could pick up. And, then they have, this is a name that we haven't heard a lot, Gordon Hayward. Remember him?
Yes, sir.
And he's been hurt. He's been back and forth. He's a 6'7" wing, shooting 37% from the three. That's averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists.
Yeah.
You could get one of those type of players, except for Kyle Kuzma, for pretty much some draft picks and a player, maybe. So those are the situations. If I was one of the teams looking, that I would be looking at.
Yeah. You think are we gonna see any coaching changes, Mo? We had the big one last week with Griffin in Milwaukee, and Doc is in there now. Uh, are all these guys going to make it through the regular season?
you
I
never
mean,
say.
I'm just
You never
saying.
say never. I mean, I know Darvin Ham's been out on the hot seat. Just like Gervin, who is a younger head coach. That who knows with that situation, going into the playoffs, or you just never know. Maybe the Pistons make a move and move move what's his name up to the front office and bring in some coach they want to look at, maybe something like that. But it's a coaching business, Ricky. You never know what might happen. That's why I tell coaches, if you get to college, stay in college. Don't go to the pros.
Yeah, I tell you that whole thing with Griffin is still shocking to me. And they paid Doc. They gave him a $40 million deal. I
they're
mean,
paying they're paying 3 coaches right now. 2 of them not the coach. They're still waiting. The Budenhauser, they're still paying him. So
wow.
but you know what? The Milwaukee deal was not. It was more than just coaching. I mean, if
Yeah,
you're 30,
yeah.
30 and 13, there was internal problem. It happened with Terry Stotts, where there was a confrontation, and some players were not happy with the way things are going. And the main player is Giannis, and he's the one that's making the moves in Milwaukee. He's the one that kind of forced the Bucks to get Lillard in, and he's the one that made this happen. So, it was more than just coaching.
Hey, Steve, that's a good one, Steve. What about Aiden out there in Portland?
Yeah,
Or
nobody.
do you want him?
I don't. He's been a prop. He wasn't happy in Phoenix. He's not happy in Portland. Where is he not going to be happy in next? Your play. Whoever gets him, he's not going to be happy. So, I mean, you know, 7 foot, double guy, like it. Not really an offensive guy who thinks he needs to shoot for some reason. But it, how long is he going to be? Okay, we're going to make a move. We're going to trade a good player now, Steve. We're going to trade a player, one of our starters, for him. And now he's going to come in and next fall in training camp, he's not going to be happy here. He's going to want out. You got to deal with that. So
they would have to practically give him to you for you to take him, which they're not going to do.
But they're not going to be able to because he just signed a big deal too, right? He's making $30 million, $25 million. So so even if if you wanted to give him to me, I'd have to give you something of nice value to get him. So I mean, but you know what? There'll be a taker out there because every coach, or every organization thinks they can change somebody, and he'll be different here. Guess what? 95% of the time, they're not different there. If he's a disgruntled, not happy here guy where you are and where he's been the last 2 years, believe him, he's not going to be happy where, go to South Beach, play in Miami, and be happy, and then all of a sudden I'm not getting shots. I'm not happy again. I want out.
Yeah. Well, Mo, we have hit the witch. I mean, this hour flew by, man. Any final thoughts?
No, I think we'll keep an eye. Maybe we'll have a special show here if there's a big trade. I think some of the bigger trades have happened, but it might happen here. They got 2 weeks till the trade deadline. We're over half the way through the season in the NBA, and then keep your eye on injury reports for the Chiefs and the 49ers, and they'll be out here in Vegas in about a week and a half, probably. So. Actually, they're staying at Lake Las Vegas, about almost 45 minutes outside of town.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. You've been watching We Got Next. Don't forget, you can get this show and all our other shows at believe.com, BLEAV.com. We got all our interviews on there. You can get them all. Just go there and check it out. For the big fella, Paul Mokeski, I'm Rickey Hampton. Peace.
Go Chiefs. Chiefs.